Hello, for today's video, I'll be sharing 6 short stories that will keep you up at night. These stories are just ones that I found really unsettling and they stuck with me throughout the day and throughout the night. So let's get started. The first one is The Last Question by Isaac Asimov. This is a science fiction short story that tackles human history, so a very big topic. He's able to explain these really complicated concepts and events in a really simple manner that keeps the reader engaged. The second short story is The Jaunt by Ursula K. And this is my first time reading his works, but it was really well done, and it's a science fiction short story about teleportation. It's creepy, dark, and ultimately really thought-provoking. And the reason why I really like this story is because I feel like it shouldn't have worked. I shouldn't have been as engaged as I was. And that's because for a large part of the story, the main character is explaining what's happening. They're essentially explaining the events that led up to why and where they are currently at this point in time. Authors and writers, they're told you need to show and not tell, but for a lot of the story, it is telling, and yet the story itself was so engaging that it worked. The ending for the story was also really memorable and one of my favorite endings in any story. The third story is All You Zombies by Robert A. Heinlein, and this is another science fiction story, but for this one I recommend going in not knowing anything. All you really need to know is that it starts off at a bar, and that's it. I have not been this confused reading anything in a long time, but I really enjoyed it because of that confusion. And in the end, when you figure out what's going on, or at least when I did, I immediately went back and read it from the beginning, just so that now that I understood it, I wanted to see and really solidify the sequence of events within my mind. But this story was also really incredible. It kind of just blows my mind, the fact that someone thought this up. I would say also when you're reading, pay attention to all the symbolism. There's definitely a lot the story has to offer that could escape you during the first read. There was no wasted line, essentially. The fourth story is I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream by Harlan Ellison. Honestly, just the title alone made me want to read the story, and I was not disappointed. This, by far, out of the entire list, is the most disturbing story. It essentially tells the story of the last remaining humans on Earth, and I really think that's all you need to know, but it's definitely a story that will stick. The next story is The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas by Ursula K. LeGuin. I really like this story because of the themes it discussed, and it's also really disturbing, but it's essentially a story about society and the individual, as well as the individual's place in a society. It's also an exploration of happiness, and I think the reason why the story was so disturbing is because it's easily applicable to many events throughout human history. The last story is The 9 Billion Names of God by Arthur C. Clarke, and it's essentially about monks who want to list out all of the names of God. I've revisited the ending a few times since first reading it. And these are the 6 short stories that will keep you up at night. If you've read any of these, let me know your thoughts on them, and thank you for watching.